Emperor Peter, I present this branch of spruce, and I hope it will be a symbol of our feelings for each other.
She gave me a twig. She's not another inbred, is she?
It wasn't mentioned.
I'd never written a play for a female lead, and I didn't really know anything about Catherine the Great other than maybe she fucked a horse.
I would honestly love to know how you fucked that horse.
I made it up, Tatiana. You were there.
Really?
And then I found out what she actually did, which is keep the Enlightenment alive and start women's education and take over this massive country as a young woman and invent the roller coaster, and she had this mad intellect. And I thought, well, that's crazy that that's how history sort of remembers her and no one really knows about her. So I wanted to tell that story.
We will have free bread and medicine for all, education and art for all, and their mind full of ideas.
This is Russia. What's intriguing about Catherine is that she is the active protagonist in changing the world. She took a place and a time, a country and a monarchy and turned it into something.
I would like to be useful to Russia, to help its greatness.
It's a story of female empowerment because it is about a young woman trying to do something great and what that costs her.
So you want this? To be Empress?
I do.
To tell this story now is truly important, and to also just show a strong female character on the screen who also isn't perfect. She's not always brave. She doesn't always do the right thing, but she's learning, and I think it's beautiful to watch.
You perhaps thought the taking of an empire would be effortless.
Do not like your tone.
Why? It contains the prick of truth.
Yes, that is exactly why.
There have been thousands and thousands of years of very, very stupid men doing very stupid things because they didn't listen to very, very clever, very forward-thinking women.
I have a new plan, and I will get you and the country everything we need, and not a drop of blood gets spilt.
I think that it's very important to show what can happen when you listen to the girls.
Stand by.
I remember reading the script for the pilot for the first time, and it was genuinely like nothing I'd ever read. There was a sense of like anarchy about it.
The show has a very kind of naturalistic feel about it. It's quite loose, but it's also very specific, which makes it feel like a play sometimes.
I think that's a more useful thing to have.
Copy that.
The world he's created makes sense in its own terms. It's definitely bonkers. There's dark elements, there's comedic elements, and you want to throw all that together and hopefully create something very original.
Listen, girl.
Do not put your fingers near me, ever again.
The tone of the show is kind of unique, I suppose. I mean, it just seems normal to me because I write it. But I didn't want it to feel like you were looking back at something that happened 300 years ago.
It's delicately towing the line between extreme, bawdy comedy and drama that interrogates the emotional side to a woman taking power.
Ever since I was a child, I felt like greatness was in store for me. That I was here for a purpose.
Why did he make you a woman then?
For comedy, I guess.
The first time I read was great because it felt like everyone we cast, because you don't know, you cast everyone in a bubble, hoping that they all click together. And I think once we heard everyone read it, it just seemed like they created a world very quickly between themselves.
I think it's the first comedy I've ever done where the table reads have been quite riotous, where people are pissing themselves laughing throughout the whole thing.
Touche.
What?
Touche.
Do you mean touche?
What is it, not touche?
No, touche.
See?
Sometimes you just have to keep reading it and reading it and reading it until it's not funny anymore, until it becomes just real and emotional, and then it will be funny again when you watch it.
This cast is great from top to bottom.
This is my first show, which has had its challenges, the fast pace of it all.
Rolling.
But also just incredibly exciting to get to tell a story and play a character for an extended amount of time.
Cut. Thank you very much.
She's such a super smart, idealistic person, and I just wanted that spirit and someone who could bring comedy and drama and could carry the emotional story.
You would like to be loved.
I am loved.
Someone tried to kill you.
Touche. Hey.
Nick and Al I knew separately, but I hadn't seen them work together. And they're sort of, you know, the key to the show. And seeing them sort of bounce off each other, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Huzzah!
Peter was always a piece of casting, I thought. He has to be charming because he's got to get away with a lot in terms of the audience and how brutal he is, but also really funny.
Fuck them up!
It's a period satire, not necessarily based on historical facts.
I think part of Tony's brilliance is that he's like unshackled by all of that. We're not going to be bound by any rules at all.
The historical detail didn't interest me so much as the idea of this young woman coming into a country she didn't know and taking power, and sometimes the facts fit that. It's not a show that's like a history lesson.
I remember turning up for rehearsals when we were shooting the pilot, and we were all kind of sat round as a cast, and me and a few others pulled out our history books to show our due diligence as actors and show how much research we'd done. And we were quickly told by Tony, he was like, yeah, no, don't worry about that.
I mean, we found a lot of amazing historical facts that we've used that everyone will think we made up. So there's lots of bits in it that people will go, they totally made that up, and we'll be like, it's actually what they did think contraception was, or they did think pregnancy tests were this, or, you know, so there is all those kind of things.
Must you watch? Technically, I do not have to, but I enjoy it.
Catherine, I would describe, especially at the beginning, is an extreme optimist. She's trying to gain her power and also find out who she is as a woman.
I have a busy day improving Russia.
She believes that she has a destiny, and that destiny is an irresistible force that pulls her forward.
She's pushing those boundaries and going head to head with Peter because she's like, I'm going to create my own life. This is my story. You can't take that away from me.
In the course of the first season, there are failures and there are bad choices and there are poor decisions, but she doesn't ever allow those to stop her. Peter is a different kettle of fish.
Rabbit. I suppose he's really like a 4-year-old child, I mean, who is very, very spoiled.
Well, Mentop, do a funny little dance to amuse me.
Peter's described as a mercurial fellow. He's he's into larks and japes and kind of has a wicked sense of humor. He's someone who's been raised kind of with no one ever saying no to him, so he gets away with murder.
The shadow of his father, Peter the Great, and the expectation of his mother, and his kind of insecurities as a leader. And while he might kind of try and hide that through bluster from other characters, I think Griggle's probably one of the few people in the court who Peter can really be himself and show his weakness. I'm always cheering and drinking and trying to make sure that he's happy at all times. You know, it's a bit problematic when he's sleeping with my wife.
You are bad.
As are you, my dear. Georgina is very, very happy in this strange throuple. She is very kind of empowered and somewhat manipulative, and also just genuinely really enjoys having sex with 2 different men.
You're my dearest friends. Embrace me.
He's sort of weirdly like the Joker in many ways, you know, because he doesn't have any scruples, no morals, no nothing. He just wants to live life as he lives.
The thing that makes him likable and unlikable at the same time is that he says exactly what he's thinking, even, you know, so you know exactly where you stand with him. And that's what I think is also, even if you don't agree with it and it's not right, you kind of learn to love him in a weird way because at least he's honest.
How to change that? I am perfect, but I know I must change somehow. It's a fucking conundrum.
Yes. They have an odd love-hate relationship. But she also realizes, I need to kill my husband, obviously. You know, I need to start a coup and I need to take over this joint.
I don't want to, you know, take all the credit, but the coup is my idea, sensibly.
Help me with the coup. Oh my God, you cannot say that word.
Catherine comes in, full guns blazing and thinking that we can do this coup tomorrow. And it can't be quite done like that.
We're really bad at the coup thing. It's astonishing that we get anywhere with it.
There's something brilliant about Mariel that is quite inspiring, is that she's very instinctive and she likes to live dangerously.
Finally, some action.
Mariel and Orlo are incredibly ill-matched. He's sort of mind and I'm body, I'm emotion and he's intellect.
Enough. Ariel.
If you put a knife in Mariel's hand right now, she would probably go and kill Peter. And there's something kind of inspiring about that, about not thinking too much.
We kind of bustle along, doing it badly. Eventually we enlist her lover, Leo, and the head of the military, Belementov.
Leo doesn't discover till much later that she's been planning a coup all this time.
I'm still fairly old-fashioned in my thoughts about whether a woman and a young woman can actually lead. So there's a sort of journey to go on with her where I gradually believe in her and then join her side.
I still suggest doing it in his sleep.
I must do things my way.
I'm gathering that.
Slowly I become aware that she's got some interesting ideas, and I become increasingly frustrated with my nephew, and in the end she kind of convinces me.
Most women die with an unsaid better idea in their hearts.
I would be better than him for Russia.
Involving these other characters and the other aspects of the court, the church, the military, all of that was fun, to build the whole world out.
I like that you're fitting all these different pieces together that might not quite fit.
It's actually very clever.
Somehow that hodgepodge of people managed to make something happen.
This is it, my friends.
The comedy and the sort of oddness of the world is what's new about it.
I love Russia more.
You're not even Russian.
In my heart, I am.